All righty, we are back. Episode 12. Coach Ty Eustice. He's going to give us some breakdown on the NCAA bids based on each conference. EIWA was elected 22 spots. As of yet, there's talk of evaluating the heavyweight bids, but that's where we're at right now. We're going to go through the conference EIWA tournament, which kicks off this weekend, the 6th and the 7th, hosted by Lehigh up in Bethlehem, PA. Where our guys are going to be seated, who they're going to match up with in the tournament, and then maybe a little bit of just like kind of expectations, energy around the room. This is the home stretch of the season. Who we're excited to see, and what we're expecting to get out of the guys. Fun fact. This weekend, Josh Coderhant should be making have the opportunity to get his 100th career win for Navy, which is kind of exciting. Huge milestone and accomplishment for him. So congrats to Josh. Excited to see you get your hand raised for the 100th time this weekend. And with that, I'll turn it over to Coach Ty Eustice.
I'm back.
He's back. You were number 1. You were the first episode. Number 12.
I was going to say, I thought I was episode 1, and now it looks like we're on episode 12.
Yeah, we're cruising.
Let's
go. We're on Spotify now, too.
And I didn't know that about Josh. 100 wins is a very big deal in Division I wrestling. So I'm not surprised he's going to have a bunch more here in March.
That's right. Yeah.
So you mentioned seeds, and we talk around the office a lot. It's people are incredibly confused about the not seeds, but allocation process. Obviously, the EIWA was pretty disappointed in the numbers that we got. I wouldn't say it's a surprise because as you track the coaches' rankings throughout the year, the RPI rankings throughout the year, you can kind of get a sense of where each conference is going to land based on those. The first coaches ranking is incredibly important. So we just got done with our third coaches ranking is the one they use, and the RPI. So basically you have 3 parts to the allocation system. You have coaches rank, you have the RPI, and the way that I describe RPI to people that are like, what's RPI mean? Basically means your win percentage. They look at who you've wrestled, so your opponent's win percentage, and then they look at your opponent's win percentage. So that all goes into being an RPI ranking. So for instance, John Lay had an incredibly good RPI. I think he ended at 17 or 18 in the final RPI. He was not in the coaches ranking, which was a little bit of a disappointment. And we can talk about the coaches ranking in a second. The third piece to the allocation system is you must be at 70% for a winning percentage. And that's kind of the threshold that they set. And that's not a given anymore, right? Like Division I wrestling is extremely tough. It's very deep now. 70% is a good number, I think, in my opinion. For another example, John Lay landed exactly on 70%. So maybe we can start with him. He did not earn an allocation for the EIWA. And again, when we're talking about this, all these wrestlers are doing is earning an allocation for their own conference. Okay. Yeah. So Lay is a really good example because he was right there, probably very, very close. He might've been the next one down the list, but they look at coaches ranking. So there's 16 coaches across the country that rank a weight class. So 157 had 16 coaches across the country ranking that weight class. So right off the bat, what a lot of people are understanding right now is there's inherent bias to this system. Okay. And there's also an element of, I'll be nice and I'll call it oversight. And maybe we can get into that a little bit more, but are coaches equipped to research and evaluate a weight class around the country and stay up to date on every wrestler across the country and put them in a ranking of 1 through 33? That's the argument a lot of people are making, is like, I don't think coaches are equipped to do that or have enough time or energy to do that. But anyway, so 16 coaches, they put in their rankings, they punch it all in, and they land guys 1 through 33. We do that 3 times a year. So So we talked about the RPI. We talked about the coaches rank. We talked 70% is obvious. It's got to be Division I matches count towards your Division I record needs to be 70%. So after that third coaches ranking and they have the RPI and everyone's done for the year, so they know who landed at 70%. They basically put them all in order and they go, 1 through 29. Those are the guys that earned a spot for their conference. So in the case of John Lay, he hit 70%, very tough. He was 17 or 18 in the RPI, which is extremely high, but didn't crack the coaches ranking. And, so how does that happen? Just maybe didn't get that signature win, didn't get that quality win that people were saying, okay, he should be up there. But he had a tough schedule, right?
Yeah.
And he wrestled some guys very close. Yeah. So that's one. There's situations like that all across the country at every weight class, right? That are coaches are sitting there kind of scratching their head. We had a couple other really close calls in the EIWA where guys were maybe in the bottom of the coaches rank, in the bottom of the RPI, but sometimes being 30th in both is not enough to get a spot for your conference, right? Yeah. They go 1 through 29 and they save 4 for wild cards after the conference tournaments to award those to people that they think committee is deserving of. So yeah, it's a little confusing, but it's, as someone that's been in this for a bunch of years, you can kind of track this stuff throughout the year and see where guys are going to land. I actually was a little surprised that the EIW number was so low. I don't, maybe what that means is, the coaches across the country, maybe we're looking at the EIWA as maybe, hey, they're having a down year. They lost the Ivies. So, they're not at the same level that they were. I would say a lot of the teams, we all beat each other. Like we beat Lehigh, but we lost to Army. Well, Lehigh beat Army. You throw Bucknell in there, beat Army. We all kind of beat each other this year, maybe is how I would describe it. So maybe there was a little bit of question marks, like we don't know how good, a lot of these individuals are type thing. But it's a low number. It's obviously a little disappointing. And, it's stuff that's really out of our control. There's a little control in the sense of the coaches ranking and getting out with your schedule and trying to beat the right guys. But, that's maybe a topic for another day too.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that breakdown. I think that does a good job of explaining really the 3 elements. Kind of correct me if I'm wrong, but winning percentage, coaches rankings, and then RPI. And there's no room for bias in winning percentage. You go out there, you get your hand raised. That's that 70%. The RPI, there's some algorithm that determines your RPI rank. That's computer based. There's no room for bias there. Yeah. The coaches ranking, that's the one that, just overhearing the discussions from you and Coach Colat and the other guys in the room is like, that's where that's where the frustration kind of stems from, this low 22 allocation bid to the conference. And I think the Ivies coming out plays a big role. Off the top of my head, I can't think of how many Ivies there are that have, Columbia, Penn, Harvard, Cornell, all those guys are good, but there's still more teams in the EIWAs than there are Ivies, and they're getting more spots. So that's frustrating. And we've got 4 weight classes. Let me just kind of share this. 4 weight classes that you have to win to go to the show, which, everybody's going into this thing with that mindset, like, hey, I'm going to win. But the truth of the matter is, like, it just makes it that much harder if you're not in the top 29 RP or final coaches rankings and stuff. Like John Lay is a great example because he's a guy that, you and I both feel that he should be. But the reality is he's not. And if he doesn't win 157, he's probably not going to get that wild card draw.
It really is. It's really interesting to see that chart. Right. And I mean, the one good thing, right? Like I already touched on it, but the conference has been pretty open this year. Right. Yeah. Like we could wrestle Army and, those, if we wrestle them 10 times, we could see some different outcomes, right? could wrestle Lehigh 10 times, we'd probably see some different outcomes. But I think it's open. There's some very high achievers like Coder Hunt and Mr. Wask and Beard at Lehigh and Treffin at Lehigh, but there's some weights that are very open. You touched on 57. That number one seed has been close with everyone that John Lay's been close with. You look at 49. We did a lot more offensive things against him than he did against us, and he's the number one seed. That's an interesting one there too. If we want to get into EIWAs, there's some really interesting seeding that's happened at a few weights. But there you look at 49 head to head, the number 2 guy beat the number 1 seed. This year in the duel.
Yeah, so kind of talk about some of that maybe. I mean, before we started recording, you kind of mentioned that.
Yeah. So this weight and 174 are interesting to highlight a little bit about EIWA seeding for people that don't understand. Malik Hines beat Trey McDaniel in the duel this year. Well, why is Trey there? I don't know. I have read through the EIWA seeding procedures. The head-to-head is mentioned very little. That is nowhere near the top of the EIWA seeding process. And very interesting to someone like me who is a little bit more logical when I look at wrestling. But it's weighted much more heavily on did you have quality wins against people? Did you beat anybody in the coach's rank? Did you beat anybody in the RPI? And then your win percentage, it plays a big part in it too. So in a couple cases at 149 and 174, at 74, Danny Wask lost to the number 2 seed this year. I believe that was out in Vegas, right, Peyton?
You're correct.
We lost to the number 2 seed there from Binghamton. But because of Danny's, impressive season where he beat, a number of top 15 guys, top 10 guys, those quality wins counted much, much more in the EIWA seeding process than just that head-to-head that he lost to Binghamton. So, we talked about allocations. That's an interesting kind of formula. The EIWA seeding process will absolutely give you a little bit of a headache reading through it. Yeah. And so, the way that they spit out, I would say, I mean, if I'm being positive, I would say, they're pretty darn close, right? Yeah. It gets them within a pretty close slot. And so I don't know if we want to run through our guys starting at 125. Nick Treaster got the 6th seed. He will have I think we just call him a first round match. The top 4 seeds get buys into what we'll call the second round. So first round, Nick will have the 11 seed from Bucknell, who he beat by Tech Fall in the duel this year. If he's fortunate to win that, he would obviously then have the 3 seed from Drexel, who we did not wrestle this year, I don't think. I'm trying to remember, but
I can't remember if he wrestled in that one. Oh, you know what? I think Totten weighed in for that one.
Sorry, you're right. Garrett Totten beat him in the duel. That's what I read yesterday. Yep. So that's where Treaster's at. He comes out and gets a first round match. Same with Brendan Freddy at 133. He got the 10 seed. We feel so we'll have who do we have? We have a rematch with Raymond Lopez 7 in the first round.
Okay,
They wrestled in the duel. Ferretti got a lead. We lost the lead at the end, but definitely a winnable match that Brendan thinks he can win. And if we're fortunate enough to win that, again, our athletes aren't looking forward to round 2, but coaches in their mind have to be looking forward to round 2. And if we win that, we would have the Bucknell, who we went a really, really close match with in the dual meet there.
Yeah, I think that's honestly a good spot for Brendan. He's a guy, like, we always talk about how talented he is. It's just he's right there and making that connection. So maybe this is a good opportunity for him to shock some people. 41, obviously Josh. He's beaten all these guys this year.
Yep.
So
Coder just needs to keep doing exactly what he's been doing. He's just incredibly consistent every single day, which leads to being consistent on match days. And that's really that's been my thing that I've been most impressed with him. Just getting to know him and getting to know the program and getting to watch him every day is he's the same dude. He shows up when it's time to show up. And I think nothing but good things are coming for him. Like you mentioned, his 100th win that's coming up. That's awesome.
Yeah. So Navy Sports has him at 99. WrestleStat, maybe this is a good question for you. I was texting him earlier because I was like, but WrestleStat has him at like 95 or 96, I think. And is that because they like D2? He's got some D2 wins or some unattached wins, that Navy Sports probably accounts for that WrestleStat wouldn't.
Well, there's a difference between countable matches, right? Like we talked about the whole allocation thing, and those do have to be against countable Division I guys. But when you're talking about a Navy wrestling or an Iowa wrestling and getting your 100th win, it's like if you're in a college event and you're wearing a Navy singlet, those wins are Navy wins, and that's really what we're talking about with getting his 100th win. So I haven't looked into it. Like I said, I didn't even know that his 100th was coming up, but my hunch is there's probably just a little WrestleStat maybe not counting certain matches for whatever reason.
Yeah, we'll go with Navy Sports. So Josh, as the 1 seed, he'll see the winner of what?
So Carter Bailey and Crescio are on his side, obviously, but those guys have some people to wrestle before they get to him, right? So the 4-5 will be on his side, along with, what did I say, 5 and 12. 5 and 12 have to wrestle.
I forget. I'm not as good at like looking at the brackets. Let me see. I have Quinn's.
Yep, he had those. We could pull one of those up.
There we go. So he'll wrestle Nate Lucier or Justin Hoyle.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah. He'll have the 8-9.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So those guys will 8-9. So Hofstra, Binghamton, he'll see his 100th win hopefully. So
who we haven't wrestled either of those guys, I don't think.
At least not this year.
No.
Okay, then Cayman, we've kind of talked about a little bit. He comes in at the 5 seed. And I honestly can't remember. He wrestled Malik Hines to a tight one in the duel. Obviously, the Trey McDaniel one was tight, but he didn't see Binghamton. And I don't know if he wrestled against Drexel.
No, so this is one where Cayman has a head-to-head win over the 4 seed this year. He beat him in the duel. This is one of the really strange ones where we're going to try to get clarification because I went through the whole thing and what I determined was, they were like dead even through multiple rounds of seeding criteria. And so, we may send an email to somebody, but like, I actually want to see the math because they're so incredibly close on paper through the seeding process that I thought it would finally come down to like a third criteria, which they finally get to head to head. We won't go through the whole thing, but Cayman's got a first round match against Morgan State. That young man has 0 matches on the year. So we're not 100% sure. Maybe he transferred in second semester or what happened. I'm not sure, but he would have a first round match and then he would wrestle the young man from Drexel.
Okay. You still with me?
Oh,
there you are. I lost you for a second.
Oh, it's all right.
All right. You still there?
Yeah. You can always edit it out.
No, I will. I just it cut out for a second.
Yeah.
Okay, so he'll have Bailey, and then would you say he'll have Findora?
He'd have Findora rematch from the duel. Yep.
Okay, cool. And then John, we've kind of talked about a little bit. He comes in at the 3. Didn't wrestle Nitcher at the duel.
No.
And then Rosinski didn't wrestle us.
Didn't wrestle against us. Yep. This is a really good weight class. Even the 11 seed down there, the American kid,
Yeah.
Is that 6'11" matches that feeds into John. That 6'11" Dakota's is a very good wrestler. He was in the RPI for a couple of the RPIs. Maybe even the bottom of the coaches ranking at the beginning. And then the American athlete has gone close with a lot of people in the conference. So that 6'11" match is actually going to be a good one. This weight's pretty solid. And right there with 4 too. The Cade Wernsberger is a really good wrestler who split with John this year. We beat him last in the duel. So this one's and the Wernsberger Rosinski match actually in the duel was pretty controversial call that gave Rosinski the win. And so this is exciting. Like this is what you want out of postseason wrestling. This is a great weight class, and like we said, the winner's the only guy that automatically qualifies. I think the runner-up will have a really good chance at getting a wild card, just because so many of these guys have been in and out of the coaches rank and in and out of the RPI that I think you'll see the runner-up have a really good chance to get a wild card. So John's feeling good. You know that. We all know that. He's been wrestling well. He's extremely hard to score on, and he can ride, and that's a pretty good recipe in the postseason to get some W's. So we're just going to keep it rolling.
Yeah, I think John's in good shape mentally and physically for this weekend. 65. I mean, this one's also an interesting one for me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if Dylan had started off in the season, because I don't think he's at the 70% right now.
He didn't quite hit it. No, he didn't quite hit it.
Between him and the first two guys, they've all beaten each other.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't see Mosher this year.
No.
This weight class is only taking two.
Yeah.
2.
Yep.
So he'll see Bear and
Mulvaney, hopefully.
That's right.
Yeah.
Bear in the quarters, Mulvaney in the semis.
Yep.
I mean, Dylan's impressed me so far for a freshman. I think he's got a good shot of making some stuff happen. And I don't. This was an interesting weight class for me, I think, too. Just because everybody's kind of beating everybody.
Yeah.
He had a good. He beat up the American kid. I think the Lehigh match was pretty good, and we didn't see Binghamton. So I don't know if you've got any thoughts on how they seeded the top 4 here.
So like this is one of those ones where like you already said, Elmore beat Mulvaney during the year, but we lost to Filipowicz. Mulvaney beat Filipowicz, and so it's this is a really interesting weight too. And you have Mosher in there that had a really nice season, was in the coaches ranking almost the whole time. I think he was, and bottom of the RPI. He was one that was extremely borderline to getting another allocation. Did not hit 70%, which I think ultimately probably held him out from an allocation. If my understanding is correct, I'd have to go back and look at the final, but he was like 30-30 or something like that in the coaches rank in RPI. So he was very close. Elmore, obviously if he wins at Army, this whole thing looks very, very different. He would have solidified himself as a top 20 something guy in the coaches rank. But we didn't finish the takedown at the end. And, but ultimately, like you said, he's a freshman that's continuing to learn and continuing to get better, but he has so much ability. It's scary. And, I think we're going to see the best Dylan Elmore here in a few days. And man, I wouldn't want to wrestle him. He's an interesting cat. He is. You've grabbed him a lot. I've rolled around with him a little bit and seen him work, and he's a unique dude, and we love having him on the team, and I think we're all excited to see him go in a tournament setting, because all we've seen him is a few duels, and then he did really well at Soldier Salute. So he's excited, and I think he should be. It's going to be a great atmosphere for our guys to wrestle their best.
Yeah. Of all obviously excited about seeing everybody wrestle, but Dylan's a guy who I think everybody could agree with me on this and saying, like, I'm glad we're going to have him for another 3 years.
Yeah.
He brings a lot to the chemistry of the team in a interesting way.
Yep.
And he's a crowd pleaser because he hits these big moves so fast, and then he's exciting to watch. It's not like, I don't know. He hits different things, and he's fun to be around. And we haven't. I don't think we've seen his ceiling yet.
No.
He's pretty raw.
Yep.
So that's exciting for Navy Wrestling and for Dylan. Going down to 74, we got the man, the myth, the legend, Danny Wask, the Mr. Pickup Stones guy. This is an interesting one we kind of talked about. He saw Casella at Vegas, not his best match, to put lightly, but he's. I mean, I feel like every match he's had this year has been with somebody in the top 25. So, I mean, his RPI is probably pretty high.
Oh, very high.
Yeah.
He was, I think he was top 5 RPI, and Coder was super high. I think they were both top 5 or 6. If I remember right.
Yeah. I was joking with Danny, I don't know, probably a couple weeks ago, just, in 4 years, I probably saw as many ranked opponents that he saw in the first half of the season. So, like, I don't know if it's the way that Coach Collette formats the schedule or if just everybody in the country that we see at 174 is a stud. But
he was 4 in the RPI, and Mr. Casella was 3 in the RPI. So that's pretty cool for the EIWA. And then we also had number 6. Tackett's was number 6. So you talk about strength of schedule. What did I say? We had 3, 4, and 6 RPI just in our conference. So that's it's a really good weight. It's a really deep weight. And like you said, Danny's had just a phenomenal year, and his schedule has been tough, and he rises to the occasion. He is so talented and just mentally tough. So we don't miss his matches. You better turn your eyeballs when he steps on the mat, because something's going to happen. And, and most times it goes in Danny's way.
Yeah. For sure. I couldn't agree more. I think, I mean, just look at it, how deep this is. Harkins, Campos had a really good scuffle where he beat a Virginia Tech kid, I think, or I don't remember.
He's had some nice wins. Yeah.
He's had some really good wins. Yep. Danny tore him up in the duel, but he's got some good wins. Harkins is tough. Even Rylan Rogers, I think, gave Danny a tough match. I don't know much about Morgan State, but
neither do I.
Like that. Yeah, I don't know. Four spots at 174. Danny with the 1 seed, so he'll look to bring home a title there. 84 Williams. This one I think is only 1 spot also. Yeah, this one is pretty crazy too. Is this a weight class where everybody's kind of beating everybody, or am I?
Yeah, I don't know that anyone's really separated themselves on a national level, like 174 has. Those guys have went out and beaten, a lot of opponents. I think there's some good wrestlers here, though. We feel really good about Daniel. I think he's in a good place I mean, he's a guy that when he's firing, when he's feeling good, there's no reason that he can't beat people in this bracket. So he should feel great that, he's coming from the 7th spot, but it really doesn't matter in a bracket like this, is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the best way to put it, is like, who's going to show up, and when you got your best Daniel Williams, like, I'll put him up against anybody. So
definitely.
And then the last one we got is 197, where Thomas is the 5 seed.
Yep.
Obviously Michael Beard's the 1. What is he ranked right now? He's like 4.
Very high. Yeah. I think, when we were doing our national rankings, he's extremely high. Peyton Thomas has given him about his closest match of the year, which was a very, very controversial match decided by a referee's stalling call with, what was it, 20 seconds left?
Yeah. Yeah.
That was literally the difference in the match. So that shows you the level that Peyton Thomas can wrestle at, because Michael Beard is extremely talented. And we also have a win over number 2 from Bucknell. We beat him at the Navy Classic. We have not wrestled O'Malley, I don't think. And then obviously the Army match was one that we don't want to watch again. But a match that could easily go our way. So Peyton, you got a road there, and this weight takes 4. Is that right?
I think you're right. Yes.
Yeah. So show up and beat somebody, and you're gonna get to the national tournament. And so Peyton is definitely capable. He like I said, close with the number 1 seed, beat the number 2 seed, and so like you said in the last weight, who wants to show up and go to the national tournament? That guy's gonna find a way.
Yeah. Yeah. And then 285, there's some names getting withdrawn, so it's going to probably shift some things, or we don't know yet.
There's some well, it's not our team, so we don't really want to talk about other people's injuries or other people's lineups, but yeah, there's still some discrepancy about a couple teams who they're going to enter for the tournament, which could affect the allocations. In the short term, it will affect the seeding, but in the big picture, it could affect the allocations for that weight class for the EIWA to the national tournament. So pretty crazy to have some of that happening the week of. And I haven't seen an updated bracket. Maybe Coach Colot has, but I have not seen an updated bracket for 285. But we got Jake Lucas again, who wrestled at Army, who really represented himself well and competed well off of that was his first competition of the year, and he really represented Navy extremely well, I thought. So he's kind of earned that trip to the EIWA tournament, and I think he's really excited. He has a great brain for wrestling. I've been really impressed with just his understanding of hand fighting and position. And so I'm excited to see him go out there, because he's going to stay in matches and he's going to give himself a chance to win. So good for Jake, and I'm excited to see him wrestle again.
Yeah, I share your sentiment there as well. I think he did a great job at Army. He did his job. Like, Stoddard's a tough opponent.
Really tough.
He shut him down. Undersized compared to Stoddard. But stylistically, with the hand fighting and maybe being a little bit shorter, it played to his advantage.
Yeah.
But I think that could be an advantage used against other bigger guys too, other heavyweights. But we'll see. I hopefully he's goes out there and shocks some people. So we'll see what the rankings look like, or the seeds look like, and then if that affects any sort of allocations. But for you, this is your first EIWA tournament coming from Davidson in the SoCon. Have you been to Lehigh before? Have you been in Stabler?
So I was just there last weekend for national preps. I drove up there, watched a bunch of rounds of the national preps tournament. It's a great arena. I think, man, if you don't walk in there and get motivated, then there's probably something wrong with you. And so, that's a great tournament to watch. We couple of our guys that are committed were wrestling in that tournament. More than a couple, it was a bunch of them, actually, it's a handful. So that was a great tournament to watch, but just gave me a little bit of a preview of the EIWA tournament. And I'm really excited. I obviously have loved college wrestling since I was a little kid. And I've had a lot of firsts this year, just first time kind of living on the East Coast and seeing a lot of some of these schools that I never, we didn't wrestle in the Big Ten either. And I didn't really follow as a high school, kid being recruited. I didn't really follow a lot of these. So a lot of firsts. EIWAs just has a great history. Obviously it's a little different this year without the Ivies, but still it's really good. 12 teams that are all, like I said, pretty wide open this year. That, man, we're going to see some really high level, exciting wrestling here.
Yeah, it'll be a fun 2 days. We've kind of covered like what when we went through the brackets, we talked a lot about like what our expectations are. And you made a comment to me the other day just about the vibe and the energy. I think that's something that has ebbed and flowed with how we, our performance. We're coming off a really good win from Bloom a couple of weeks ago. We didn't have all our starters in on that one, but maybe just elaborate a little bit on that and how it just kind of feels a little bit different around the room, in a good way, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I think that's why you want to have a staff with different personalities, and different things that they bring to the table. But I think in terms of our staff, all of us are so incredibly positive about where we're trying to go. Obviously led by, Carey's energy. It's not like we're ever going to dip energy with him walking in the room. Right.
Yeah.
And then we all kind of bring our own little things to it. But our athletes, to take the staff out of it, our athletes have responded incredibly well throughout the year. A slower start, obviously, and then we really picked up our energy and a couple big wins at Lehigh and Bucknell, right? And then there's no mincing words. Like the Army night sucked, and we had to bounce back from that, and our guys did. They went right back to work. It is what it is. What are we going to do? Give up on the year because we lost a duel? No, we're gonna keep wrestling, get ready for the conference tournament, which we've been doing. But yeah, like you said it, the vibe of the room has been great. We do. I mean, again, you go back to your leaders, right? You got Josh Coderhan and Danny Wask, that every single day they are doing everything right in the wrestling room. So having those guys raise your level. And then you see people like John Lay filling that space, right? That those guys lift everyone up, and John Lay's like, yep, that's where I'm going to go too. Dylan Elmore, Peyton Tom, all of the guys. Brendan Ferretti's continued to battle every single day. Nick Treaster's getting better. So, everyone I think is stepping into the space that we want them to be in. And so it's been great. We're healthy today, and that's all you can really ask for is good energy and being healthy when you're the week of the conference tournament, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you're spot on. Like this, I feel like we've tailored our schedule. And I don't know when this shift really took place or if it was always this way in the Big Tens. Like you guys, Big Tens have always had a heavy dual schedule.
Yeah.
Navy traditionally, and this must have been before or changed when Kolak got the job, but I was getting 50 matches a season, which is hard on the body. And I think the way that he's shifted the schedule, and the way that the environment, the culture that he's created in the room, like this really should be the best version of each of our guys. This postseason should be the best version of themselves, that we've seen so far. It really should. Based on the training schedule and the amount of matches that they have under their belt, they should feel confident with their experience, having 20, 25 matches, but also where they're at physically, and not being broken down, which is, what most teams probably can't say about all 10 of their guys going to the postseason. So, we'll see how it plays out, but that is something that I know is a big difference maker, and I hope the guys kind of use that as a little bit of an X factor in their confidence going into this weekend. Does that make sense? I don't know.
No, that was a great summary, and that's what every college coach is trying to do, right? Is like build throughout the year, but be feeling their absolute best the days leading up to their conference tournament, right? Like that's our goal, and I think there's been a plan in place this whole time to do that, and we've executed that. The guys are, man, like Danny Wask yesterday doing the agility drills, he couldn't have been faster. Maybe that's the fastest his feet have ever moved, and that's at the tail end of a long Division I season where he has a ton of wrestling matches. So just using him as an example, man, we felt feel pretty good when your guy can perform like that on those type of drills and stuff and conditioning at the very end of the season. So they do. They should absolutely be confident that we've wrestled a tough schedule, but their bodies are all healthy. It's up to them to, tap into that desire that you have to be the best and go do it. And, we'll save all the cliches for another day, but yeah, I think guys are feeling good.
Yep. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much all I had on the agenda. We're 40 minutes into this thing. Guys will probably start rolling down to noon practice soon. So
yep,
I appreciate you jumping in.
Absolutely. We'll save my allocation and seating rant for another day when we're not recording. And that's where I'll leave it. But at the end of the day, man, it doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't. Like let's just do what we can do and control what we can control and be excited that we're heading up to Lehigh.
And I think we are excited. You're right. I mean, yeah, everybody's got a job to do, and that's to go win. So like, go win, right? Yeah.
I'll end it. Go Navy, beat Army. How about that? Beat everyone.
Let's go. EIWAs this weekend, 6th and 7th. General seating available. I'll share a link again. Hopefully we get a big blue and gold crowd. Thanks, Ty.
Later.
See ya.